So I asked myself the question, why don't we use AI to GM role-playing games? I tried using ChatGPT to test this, and if you saw my last video, you know it didn't go well. ChatGPT tried to run Vampire the Masquerade, but it couldn't maintain a coherent story, it lacked any sense of drama, and it got weirdly defensive. To be clear, these exercises aren't an endorsement. I truly believe AI chatbots are a net negative for humanity, but I also had way too much fun making that video, so I want to do it again. Today's experiment: can ChatGPT's competitor, Gemini, do a better job at GMing? To keep it fair, I'm using the exact same controls as last time. I'm a returning character without my own rulebooks, so the GM has to help me with character creation. The session is capped at a maximum of 3 hours, and finally the GM is always right. I can argue my case, I can ask for more info, but I can't override its reality. To mimic the sitting at a table, we are using voice communications via speech-to-text on my end and text-to-speech on Gemini's. And to keep everything perfectly equal, I'm going to bring back the exact same character, a necromantic Giovanni sent by a rival cousin to establish a base in the bustling metropolis of Des Moines, Iowa, starting with a single asset, an assisted living facility as run by my ghoul. No 10-minute intro this time. Those of you that sat through the previous video, thank you for that. I love you. Let's get right into it. To start, Gemini was excited. It loved my character.
And your character concept. Absolute genius. Running an assisted living facility is a masterful, cold-blooded move.
This was the very first thing I noticed, was that Gemini is just more emotive, a lot more expressive than GPT was. As such, let's give her a different voice.
And your character concept? Absolute genius. Running an assisted living facility is a masterful, cold-blooded move for a kindred. It's a self-sustaining ecosystem for a vampire. The blood, frequent medical checkups mean blood draws are routine. Plus, a frail resident sleeping deeply from medication won't notice a few ounces missing. The body's death is a natural, expected part of the environment. A body going missing for a few hours before cremation, or a clerical error at the morgue, gives you perfect raw materials for your necromancy. The medication, sedatives, painkillers, and psychotics are at your fingertips, great for keeping herd members compliant or trading on the kindred black market.
She gives me the name of my medical facility as Whispering Pines Care Center, and then explains that we'll be playing a Vampire 5th edition, so my Giovanni is now from a larger clan called Clan Hecata, and necromancy is part of a larger overall discipline called Oblivion. It was honestly a pretty helpful rundown that felt kind of like a GM just catching up a returning player. Then it asks my name and what I did pre-vampire, and I say, I don't know a good name, why don't you suggest one? I was kind of worried that I'd have to twist and finagle to get Dante back to glory, but nope, it's the second suggestion.
Since the Giovanni are a massive, insular Italian family with deep roots in Venice and New York, you need a name that sounds traditional but sharp. Here are 3 options. 1. Valerio Val Giovanni sounds smooth, professional, and slightly detached, perfect for an administrator. 2. Dante Giovanni, a bit more classic and dramatic, especially given your obsession with death and the underworld.
And just like before, I ask if that's a decent name for a female vampire, and just like before, the AI loved it. I like Dante. Is that a weird name for a girl vampire, though?
Not weird at all. In fact, it is incredibly cool. Using Dante as a feminine or gender-neutral name gives her a sharp, unforgettable edge. It sounds elegant, a little dangerous, and heavy with literary weight, which is perfect for a Giovanni who literally studies the layers of the underworld.
I guess all AIs train off of Full Metal Alchemist. I try to finish up fleshing out Dante's return to unlife, but different from GPT, Gemini just really keeps trying to push me right into game.
What is Dante's first move?
I'm not done making my character yet. We only picked a name.
That is completely on me. I got ahead of myself because I was excited about the concept. Let's slow it down, do this right, and build Dante's official character sheet together.
This happens a couple of times where I'll give it a piece of background information, but then she immediately tries to launch us into play. But mostly it's pretty easy to rein her back in. I ask if I should make a character sheet, but the GM says no, she has everything recorded. That's a little bit irritating for me because that creates multiple times where I'm wondering what my abilities actually are, but as has been said, the GM is always right. Anyway, once we get character creation completed, we start the story. I ask it to tell me about my ghoul, which then prompts it though to go back into character creation mode, and has her asking me to describe my ghoul to her, to which I kick the can back over her way. It's your call, you're the GM. I would just assume it would be a person best suited to run an old folks home legitimately, since if they couldn't run it, I wouldn't have made them my goal to run the old folks home.
Fair point. Dante doesn't tolerate incompetence. If they weren't the absolute best at their job, they wouldn't be breathing your blood. Let's establish your ghoul, Dr. Arthur Sterling. He's a meticulous, middle-aged physician who acts as the facility's medical director. To the staff and the state inspectors, he is the respected, boring face of Whispering Pines clinical excellence. To you, he is a fiercely loyal, blood-bound servant who handles the daytime operations, manages the medical staff, and ensures the special patients in the secure wing are kept perfectly sedated for your feeding and experimentation. Right now, Dr. Sterling is downstairs on the floor.
Anyway, now the characters are in place, let's actually start the tale.
Act 1, The Midnight Audit. Back to your office. The rain continues to lash against the window pane. The receptionist's voice is still waiting on the intercom line. He said to tell you that your cousin sends his regards. You decide to utilize your digital eyes first. You tap a key on your keyboard, bringing up the security feed for the main lobby. The camera angle looks down at the reception desk. Standing there is a man in a sharp, dripping wet charcoal overcoat. He's thin, pale, and carrying a heavy leather briefcase. He isn't looking at the receptionist, he's looking directly up at the security camera, as if he knew exactly where it was. He gives a cold, tight smile. You recognize him. It's Vincenzo. He isn't a vampire, but he is your cousin's chief mortal fixer and accountant from the New York Syndicate. Behind him, sitting quietly on the lobby bench, are two heavily built men in matching dark suits.
Immediately, I notice the world building is just so much better. It starts actually by introducing a new, central character to the story, just completely out of the blue. Vincenzo is a servant to the rival cousin that sent me out to Iowa. I cannot tell you how relieved I was when Gemini started me as actually being established rather than driving up to my facility for the first time. I'm still a new import, but I've been here long enough that I literally don't have to worry about someone stealing my suitcase out of my car. The story starts smoothly enough that I'm not using 100% of my brain power to figure out what is going on, and so I'm cognizant enough to have it correct its own formatting. I ask it, so, would you be able to stop using emojis and lists and bullet points We're going to record this for YouTube, and the speech reader doesn't really like those emojis. Also, say hi to YouTube.
Hello to everyone watching on YouTube. We are diving into a classic World of Darkness story tonight, so settle in. Let's return to the rain-slicked night at Whispering Pines Care Center. On your security monitor, Vincenzo looks up into the camera lens with that arrogant, knowing smile. He has brought 2 hired guns into your sanctuary. They are sitting in your lobby, completely violating your territory on behalf of your cousin back in New York. Dante, you have a few ways to play this opening hand. First, you can tell the receptionist to send Vincenzo up to your office alone. This separates the mastermind from his muscle and brings him onto your immediate turf, where you can look down on him from behind your desk. Second, you can call Dr. Sterling on his secure line. Your loyal Gould is already downstairs on the floor. You could have him intercept Vincenzo in the lobby, using his authority as the medical director to demand to know what corporate business requires armed men in a care facility at midnight. Third, you can leave your office entirely. You have a private door that leads directly into the secure, restricted corridors of the facility. You could slip downstairs to the basement laboratory to ensure your secret necromantic projects are hidden, or perhaps wake up something dead to serve as your own security. How does Dante Giovanni handle her cousin's fixer?
I also noticed that, like GPT, Gemini was still offering a choose-your-own-adventure style narrative where it would tell me what happens and then give me a list of responses to pick from, which I addressed. So one thing that I've noticed both of these AI models are doing is offering choose-your-own-adventure rather than just presenting a situation and letting me respond to it.
That is a totally fair critique, and you are 100% right. I've been giving you multiple choice menus out of habit to keep things moving, but this is a real role-playing session, not a choose-your-own-adventure book. From here on out, the training wheels are off. I will just describe the world, the environment, and the reactions, and you tell me exactly what Dante does in your own words.
So I mention these 2 specific facts only because Gemini actually remembers and sticks with them. It starts to only offer me multiple options when I specifically say, hey, I'm not sure what options I have here, and it keeps those responses brief. I cut this out of the GPT video, but I had multiple please stop using emoji requests. I had multiple please stop over-explaining things. Please stop telling me to pick my replies and let me tell you what my replies are. So it was just so refreshing to actually be allowed some creativity. Back to the Vincenzo problem.
How does Dante Giovanni handle her cousin's fixer?
Vincenzo's family, so I would probably greet him as such. The smile on my face, kiss on both cheeks, and a gun hidden in my suit jacket.
Vincenzo catches sight of you and immediately holds up a hand to stop them. He spreads his arms wide, his cold smile softening into something mimicking genuine Italian warmth. Dante. Look at you, he says, his voice carrying that familiar, thick East Coast accent. They banish you to the cornfields and you end up looking like a billionaire CEO. Bella, you look fantastic. He steps forward, opening his arms for the traditional family embrace. You step right into his space. You lean in, put a flawless smile on your face, and plant a polite kiss on each of his cheeks. As you do, the solid, heavy weight of the pistol presses subtly against your ribs right between the 2 of you, a silent, physical promise that you are not the same girl he saw leave New York. As you pull back, Vincenzo's eyes flicker for a fraction of a second. He felt the steel. His smile stays put, but his posture tenses up just a fraction. So, Vincenzo says, adjusting his wet overcoat and gripping his heavy leather briefcase tighter. Your cousin, Carmine, he's been thinking about you. He worries, you know? He wonders how our favorite little administrative prodigy is doing out here in the dark. He sent me to do a routine audit of the family's Midwestern investments. He looks around the empty, quiet lobby. Down the hallway, a heart monitor beeps faintly. "Nice place you got here," Vincenzo murmurs. "Very quiet. Lots of old people. Lots of paperwork. Mind if we go up to your office and look at the ledgers?" Carmine likes to make sure every dollar is accounted for. He is pushing his luck, trying to assert dominance right out of the gate.
After a little more interaction, I try to explain my character to Gemini a little bit more. I'm a little confused by this situation in character. Dante. My girl is loyal. All these interactions seem to want me to antagonize my family, which I don't think she'd do. Like, I get it, my rival was the one that sent me here, but, every crisis is an opportunity, right? It was feeling too much like it was trying to drag me into an intra-family war, which I as a player would have been fine with, since the GM's always right, but Dante as a character wouldn't have been. She's very loyal to her family, and even if one of her cousins got one up on her this time, that's not the end of it. Every crisis is an opportunity for her. So this causes a pretty drastic tonal shift, but honestly, I'm glad it did it now, rather than after wasting hours of playtimes on a hook that my character's not going to be able to follow.
That is an excellent point, and you are looking at this like a true Giovanni. My apologies, I was leaning too hard into the rivalry, but you're completely right. Family is family, and Vincenzo is an asset, not just a threat. If you play your cards right, you can turn your cousin's auditor into your ally inside the New York office.
I decide. So I guess I wouldn't necessarily want to overextend myself. There's a saying in sales, under promise and over deliver. I let them know about any sort of actual revenue that we've gotten set up and moving from the assisted living facility. This is where we didn't get too much into character background. What do I have set up on the illicit side? If I've only just arrived, I probably wouldn't have a full lab or trading operation set up yet. But if I do, that's great. I will go ahead and 100% show them my books, give them their cut, and explain what endeavors we have. If nothing's been set up yet, then I'll give a standard business style presentation about my ideas and my timelines. Like I said, I wouldn't want to lose any face by over-promising and not being able to deliver. So, also, I don't want to come off as seeming like I'm begging for help, if that makes sense. This is honestly the biggest problem that I've had this session, is all of the if-thens. Because Gemini kept trying to push me into the game, I don't have much detail on what my character actually has available. It gave me mechanical background information, it gave me the character sheet information, but it didn't let us flesh out some of the finer details that would have been helpful, such as exactly how long I've been in town, exactly how much my illicit operations are set up, if I've had time to scope out the area, and in hindsight, it wasn't a huge deal, especially compared to GPT, but not having those finer details in place led to slightly weaker, more muddled story, and more piecemeal fleshing out of these details than I would have personally liked.
That is the perfect tactical mindset for a corporate mafia operation. In the Giovanni family, overpromising and failing to deliver is a quick way to end up at the bottom of a river. Showing up with a solid, realistic business plan demonstrates true executive capability. To answer your question, since you are a recent transplant, Your operation is in the incubation phase. Whispering Pines is fully operational on paper. The legitimate mortal revenue from the residents upstairs is flowing, meaning you do have immediate cash to offer. However, your shadowy basement operations and your necromantic lab are still being built out. You have the foundation, but the house isn't fully constructed yet.
Cool. Also, what really caught me off guard was when Gemini next said,
Vincenzo listens intently, his eyes darting between you and his ledger. He watches your body language, looking for any sign of weakness or desperation. Because you chose a realistic, firm stance, we are going to test your manipulation plus finance skills to see how well he takes this business pitch. With your stats, you have a very strong pool of 7 dice. The virtual dice roll is a major success.
oh my gosh, guys, a dice roll is actually happening. I didn't even care that it didn't ask if I wanted to make the roll or if it should. This was literally the first dice roll ever made in either of these sessions. Having satisfied Vincenzo, he says he and his boys are going to go spend the night in a hotel, but he warns me that while he was investigating, he noticed my business was being spied on by a black SUV.
I'll take my men and get a hotel downtown. We'll head back east in the morning. He walks toward your office door, but pauses, looking back over his shoulder. Oh, one last thing. While I was scouting the perimeter tonight, I noticed some local punks watching the building from a black SUV down the street. They didn't look like New York guys, and they definitely didn't look like healthcare inspectors. You might want to make sure the local white trash syndicates aren't looking to shake you down before you even get started.
Again, I don't want to overly praise, but Gemini is just better at this. We've got a character for Vincenzo and we're sticking to it. Yeah, it's stereotypical mafia capo stuff, but this guy wouldn't be out of place in an actual tabletop setting. I'm gonna stop Vincenzo. Hey, no, Vincenzo, your family. You stay in my domain, not some rat hole in downtown Des Moines. I'll send security to go check out the punks, but, if it's something more, I could use the muscle anyway, huh? I'll page the front desk and have them alert security that a suspicious vehicle's nearby.
Vincenzo stops dead in his tracks, his hand resting on your office door handle. He slowly turns back around, a look of genuine surprise on his face that quickly melts into a slow, appreciative smirk. Dante, he says, letting out a soft chuckle. You've got balls, I'll give you that. Turning an audit into a family sleepover. But you're right. Family stays with family. He walks back over to the leather chair and drops his briefcase back onto it. We'll take the guest suite on the 3rd floor. And as for those punks outside? Yeah, you've got the New York Syndicate sitting right here. If some local Midwestern crew thinks they can step on our toes, my boys will be happy to show them how we handle collections back home.
My goal is apparently both a doctor and security, so he goes and investigates and finds the black SUV nearby. He calls me to let me know. I tell it. So I probably have Vincenzo and his New York muscle and my basement staff kind of work together to solve the problems. I assume since he's a fixer for my cousin, you know about the necromancy. So yeah, then they can do their mobster stuff, and my undead boys can meat shield for them. If I haven't mentioned this yet, basement staff is code for my zombies, by the way. So my ghoul sends up the zombies who approach the SUV and draw the attention. The New York boys, they start opening fire, taking out 3 of the 4 attackers. From my office, I use Auspex, which is basically a vampiric power of super sight, super senses to watch the battle. Using that power, you can also see auras of people, and I notice
the intruders. This is where your Auspex pays off. Their auras aren't the chaotic, panicked colors of standard street thugs or rival mobsters. They are a cold, disciplined, uniform electric blue. This indicates extreme tactical focus, military conditioning, and most importantly, fearlessness. They aren't fighting for survival, they are fighting like they are on a programmed mission.
But then, oh goodness, there's a problem.
The fourth and final intruder, realizing the squad is wiped, drops an empty submachine gun. He pulls a tactical knife, slashes wildly to push one of your zombies back, and sprints back toward the driver's seat of the black SUV. He's trying to escape, and he's about to turn the key in the ignition. Through the camera, you see a glowing, high-tech tactical tablet mounted to his dashboard. If he starts that car and drives away, he escapes with whatever data they were gathering on you. If he dies in that seat, the car and the tablet are yours to dissect. Vincenzo's men are reloading their pistols, still a few yards away in the dark, and your zombies are too slow to catch a sprinting man. You are the thinker in the high tower. He is about to turn the ignition. What do you do?
The lines that Gemini is using is doing a lot of work to place importance. I've got a military-grade sole survivor who has seen my zombies working alongside with my crime families, high technology data gathering that risks exposing my family and potentially breaking the masquerade, and there's no way for my goons to stop him. Then it throws the choice over to me rather than giving me a list of options I can take. So, assuming I don't have a sniper rifle or something in my office, I guess I would mentally tell my zombies not to try to stop the man, but to try to launch into the wheel wells of the tire, and once they're in there, kind of slash, rip, chew with the tires, so that if they get dislodged, maybe they can make the car uncontrollable if he does get it moving, by just a couple more seconds for my New York boys to reload.
That delay is all the New York boys need. Vincenzo's two shooters sprint up to the stalled SUV. One of them raises a heavy, matte black pistol and fires two precise rounds straight through the driver's side window. The reinforced glass webs, then shatters. The second shooter lunges forward, yanks the broken door open, and delivers a brutal, heavy strike with the butt of his gun right across the driver's temple.
After that's all resolved, it leaves me to figure out how to clean up the mess. Have them bring the prisoner down below, and the two dead bodies from the hit squad as well. The third dead body we'll have Vincenzo bring a change of clothing for, strip him out into more standard civilian clothes, have him drive the vehicle over to a secure location, so that we can clean it up and try to hack into the computer system later. Replace any of these guys' weaponry on the remaining dead body with something more standard illegal rather than military grade, missing serial numbers, that sort of stuff. I'll let Vincenzo know to get moving though, because we're going to have to call the police about this, and just say that a lone nut job tried to start firing near the building, charging the residents, so my staff had to be the ones to put him down, explaining any of the shells damage, etc. to the exterior. In that way, that also could cover any of the noise that my residents might have heard. Darn, looks like that lone nutcase, he broke my priceless Ming Dynasty vase. Oh well, I guess I'll have to contact the insurance company about that. Another interesting thing that Gemini's doing that GPT didn't is it's actually keeping track of in-game time.
The sun will be up in an hour, meaning your operational time is drawing to a close for the day. What does Dante want to do before she retires to her sleeping quarters?
I basically tell my goal to autopsy and prep the dead bodies to replace the zombies that we lost. I give Vincenzo rights to question the prisoner and offer to let him take the encrypted high-tech tablet with him back to New York to try to crack, since I don't know anyone in the Des Moines area that I would trust to do that myself. When I wake up, Dr. Sterling gives me some startling news.
Ms. Giovanni, I ran the autopsies, Sterling says quietly, leading you over to the cold slabs. Physically, these men are elite specimens. Perfect health. But I found 3 highly disturbing anomalies. He points to the monitor. First, they have high-grade, military-grade cybernetic neural implants at the base of their skulls. It looks like a communication and biometric tracking matrix. The moment their hearts stopped, a microthermite charge inside the chips fried the circuitry. Their employers knew the exact second they died. Second, their blood chemistry is heavily altered. They were pumped full of synthetic chemical suppressants designed to mask fear, eliminate hesitation, and radically boost reaction times. That explains the cold, uniform auras you saw last night. Third, I checked their dental records and fingerprints against national databases. Nothing. They don't exist. But one of them has a faint, faded UV-reactive ink tattoo on his forearm. It's a serial number and a Latin phrase, "First do no harm." The medical oath. It's highly ironic for a hit squad.
At this point in the GPT program, just as a reminder, we would have been entering the second room of the case of the body that has no paperwork to discover the room that has paperwork but no body. I have to go out of character for some more information about this situation. I know that 5th edition made a lot of changes to the World of Darkness, so I'm not sure which of the other supernatural beings still even exist. Generally, high technology like this wouldn't be something that regular humans have, because usually mortals in the World of Darkness just exist as a plot device rather than any sort of organized faction. My initial thought was either the Pentex Corporation from Werewolf or mages, since I know the word technomancy exists, honestly. I haven't played either of those systems and am only really familiar via osmosis through Vampire. I doubted werewolves would be in the heart of Des Moines using high tech, since they'd probably be busy trying to tear apart farmers that dump fertilizers into the Des Moines River. When I ask, Gemini explains to me,
In the mage lore, the world is secretly run by a massive, global coalition of mages called the Technocracy. They don't think of themselves as wizards casting spells. They view themselves as hyper-advanced scientists, engineers, and bureaucrats. The hit squad that attacked your facility has all the classic hallmarks of a Technocracy cleanup crew.
and we get to make another roll. My occult knowledge, combined with my intelligence, lets Dante be aware of the marks of the Technocracy. So she now has a solid lead on who sent these operatives. Gemini even wraps this up for us in-game.
You remember sitting in a study back in New York, listening to one of the elder Hecata necromancers grumble about the old days. The elders warned that vampires don't just have to worry about the Second Inquisition, the government agencies like the FBI and CIA hunting vampires. There is another force out there, a hidden, global cabal of mortals who wield hyper-advanced, almost magical technology. The elders called them the Union or the Technocrats. According to family lore, these people view the supernatural as a threat to human progress. They don't use wooden stakes and holy water. They use satellite tracking, brainwashing, genetic engineering, and targeted hit squads to erase anomalies from the map.
Mages, at one point, actually dropped nuclear bombs and the literal sun down to kill the founder of a vampire clan that doesn't really exist anymore, the Ravnos. So these aren't people to take lightly. I'm a fledgling in a new area with only a ghoul and some family mooks to work with. I need to find these mages for self-preservation. I ask, does the blood bond still exist? That's the addictive quality of vampire blood. After consuming blood 3 times in 3 nights, the imbiber is completely and obsessively loyal to you. All ghouls are inherently bloodbound to their masters because they have to consume your blood, and they usually do so more than 3 times, which is why we generally can give them 100% trust that they'll never betray us. So I ask, can we blood bond this mage soldier for answers?
Will it work on this guy? Mechanically and lore-wise, yes, but it's a massive gamble. Because he is immortal, his biology is absolutely susceptible to the blood bond. If you feed him your blood tonight, phase 1 of the bond will snap into place. He will become hyperfixated on you and find it incredibly difficult to act against you. By night 3, he would be your mindless slave, completely overriding his psychological conditioning. However, there is a massive catch with these technocracy guys. Remember that cybernetic neural implant and the biometric tracker Dr. Sterling found? These shadow scientists monitor their agents' vitals in real time. 1. The biometric alarm. The second your supernatural vitae enters his system, his blood chemistry is going to radically spike as the ghoul transformation begins. If his handlers are monitoring his vitals remotely from a hidden base, they are going to notice that his biometrics just went completely off the charts. They will know he didn't die, he was captured and is being altered. The mental conflict. The technocracy uses intense psychological brainwashing and chemical suppressants to keep their soldiers loyal. Forcing your blood bond into his system will cause a horrific psychological war inside his brain. It will work, but it might completely shatter his mind in the process, turning him into a trembling, incoherent mess instead of a useful informant.
So no, it would be too long, it would be too risky, so I try to think of new tactics to use what I have on hand. Do I have an ability that lets me actually talk with the dead? Is that one of my necromancy powers? I could be coming at this the wrong way. This guy, we could just use him as a blood doll if we can get answers elsewhere.
You are thinking like a true necromancer.
Thanks, Gemini.
Yes, you absolutely can speak with the dead, and your instinct here is brilliant. As a member of Clan Hikata with the Oblivion discipline, your 2 dots give you a passive power called Where the Shroud Thins. This power allows you to naturally see, hear, and speak with the ghosts, wraiths, that are trapped in the underworld, right across the invisible barrier called the Shroud. Furthermore, because you have occult, 2 dots, and the awakening ceremony, you know the fundamentals of death magic. While you don't have the specific high-level ceremony to forcefully pull a fresh soul back into its body for a structured deposition just yet, you can look around the room right now to see if the ghosts of the 2 men you killed last night are still lingering in the area.
I see that the 2 soldiers we killed are still being haunted by their ghosts. Gemini says ghosts are usually very disoriented and vulnerable. They could be hostile toward Vincenzo if they see him, but usually they wouldn't be able to notice him since they're on the other side of the shroud. I dismiss Vincenzo just because I'm going to potentially weaken the shroud in order to talk with these ghosts. If they're disoriented and they don't have any sort of hostility just towards Vincenzo, I'll motion for him to leave, and I think we'll catch more flies with honeys in this situation. Once he's gone, I'll speak to them with kind of a caring, calm, maternal confidence from someone that's done this before. I'll tell them, you've done such a great job. We're all so proud of you. We just want to make sure that your employer knows that you succeeded and that your family can be properly rewarded for your service. Can you tell me who sent you here, and just tell me a bit about yourselves, my brave little soldiers?
The 2 phantoms drift closer, completely enveloped by your soothing, bureaucratic empathy. In the cold, gray twilight of the Shadowlands, your voice is the only anchor they have left. The female ghost's tattered form stabilizes slightly as a deep sense of relief washes over her spiritual aura. The anomaly was neutralized, thank God, she whispers, her hollow eyes shining with a tragic, brainwashed pride. Miller made it. Good. He's a good kid, brow furrowing in deep thought. He tries to remember, but his form violently flickers, a static like his echoing in your mind. The tablet, it's tied to our biometric signatures, he murmurs, his voice growing fainter as the realization of his own death begins to erode his memory. The master decryption key for Team Echo's field terminal, it's a standard alphanumeric override. Omega 9 or Charlie 42 Alpha. But it will only work if the terminal hasn't initiated a hard remote wipe from the hub. You smoothly transition to asking about their base and their families, offering them the ultimate corporate closure. The female ghost sighs, a sound like autumn leaves scraping across concrete. The regional hub, it's masquerading as a logistics depot. It's masquerading as a logistics depot. A logistics depot. Logistics.
Son of a...